Hello, and welcome to the second live stream of the 2020 season of the DFW Experimental Film Society, also known as DEX. If you're not familiar with DEX, we are a microcinema hosted at Top 10 Records in the Oak Cliff neighborhood of Dallas, Texas, and we are in collaboration with Top 10 Records and the G. William Jones Film and Video collection at Southern Methodist University, which is part of the SMU libraries. I'm Michael Morris, one of the founders of DEX, along with Lily Taylor of Top 10 Records. And while this is our second live stream on YouTube, following our previous screening of the films of Bart Weiss, who is a local Dallas filmmaker, we previously hosted a handful of in-person screenings, which included a screening of Craig Baldwin's hybrid collage and narrative film, Mock-Up on Moo. The films we're showing tonight are in somewhat the same spirit as Craig's work, which is to say they take a kind of anarchistic approach to the archive. The films we're showing tonight are made in collaboration with the G. William Jones Film and Video Collection, and in particular draw on their collection of TV news film from the WFAA archive. Which is to say, the local WFAA channel recorded many, many hundreds of feet of film that ended up in their nightly news broadcasts, which was then put in boxes and stored, and has been unearthed at the Jones collection. They've been busily scanning and notating this footage over the last several years, and the Jones collection has been very interested in getting this footage back out into the world, often collaborating with artists to make new works from that historical footage. This footage is really exciting to work with because it's a kind of treasure trove of Dallas history, showing things that were recorded raw and may have never even ended up on the news, and include very interesting happenings throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex over the years that film was being shot. All of these were shot on 16mm film with sound, and in this case, the footage has been provided to students at Southern Methodist University who are taking a course in video art, and that course is one that I've been instructing. And this screening is a culmination of the works that were created with the Jones Archives footage. While I planned this project well in advance of the semester, and certainly without any idea that COVID-19 was going to change how our lives were being lived so radically, and I could never have predicted what the students would do with this footage, in many instances, the realities of our current life in quarantine is reflected in this work. I find that really interesting because one of the points that I tried to instill in the students is that interpretation of the past happens in the present, and very often we interpret the past through the context that we're in currently, and I think this is a very good example of that. I also asked the students to record some short comments about the individual works that they made and their thinking about the experience of working with archival footage, and those will be presented at the end of the program in lieu of a Q&A. Due to the continued lockdown, having all 10 students in a Zoom Q&A seemed like a technical feat that I didn't necessarily want to undertake, so these will be pre-recorded, as are my comments tonight. DEX will have more screenings in the coming months through Top 10 Records, and likely these will also be hosted on YouTube and video on demand through Top 10 Records Vimeo page. There should be a link in the description of this video that will guide you to that video on demand link if you are interested in viewing the works again, or if you can't view all of the work tonight. Please share that with your friends. That should be available for the next week or so through Top 10 Records Vimeo page. If you're interested in the screenings that will be coming up, please take a look at Dex on Instagram and Facebook, at Dex Film Society on both of those platforms, and there will be notification about upcoming screenings in July and in the months following. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thanks to Lily Taylor for helping me host this program, to the archivists at the Jones collection, to everyone at the SMU libraries, to Spracklin Films, who has provided scanning services in cases where we're showing film, and to all the artists. In this case, I'm very proud of the students that I had the privilege to work with on these works, and I think you'll be very impressed with what they made. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the program.
Hi, my name is Belle Campbell. My piece was inspired by a poetic form called the Cento, which is a poem composed of lines of poetry from other poets. I used the news footage to compose a piece focused on the ongoing pandemic and the ways in which it affects the most vulnerable members of our population. I think that the recontextualizing of old news footage really emphasizes how brief and cyclical human history is, especially the pieces that we've managed to capture using modern media.
For this work, I was interested in the depictions of violence in news footage. Today, most of these graphic images would probably not end up on television for viewers to see. I was interested in juxtaposing these violent clips with patriotic sound bites expressing the superiority of the United States. Obviously, no nation is exempt from accidents, but I was interested in exploring this relationship between patriotism, Eurocentrism, and the less romanticized aspects of American life. I think new contexts are created through the use of old footage when the viewer brings their lived experiences into play with the work. Every person who views a work is doing so through a lens that has been crafted over time as a result of their experiences and opinions. This is what will dictate how they perceive the piece. Obviously, some works are more open-ended than others, but it's inevitable that viewers will apply the content or ideas in a piece to their current context, regardless of how old the footage actually is.
Hi, my name is Konstantin Soldatos, and my short film is World of Animals, and that World of Animals is essentially just this narrative of imprisonment as these elites on the overlaid footage look down on these various tragedies of car accidents and house fires and the like. For me, the idea of creating a new context with old footage is there needs to be a distinct change in narrative, like a corruption of the old and original footage and turning it into something that it wasn't intended to be in its first creation.
Controlfreaks is about established systems of manipulation, societal boundaries created by politicians who blink and say lies for cash collection, about how substances are often used as vehicles of profit. By using an archive, the subversive narratives projected in the media can reappear in their true absurdist state. Seeing something is not necessarily seeing the real thing. Many layers of truth can be blended into a new work, this work.
Hi, I'm Hobbes Reynolds. This piece discusses the censorship in film both today and in the past. People have always been worried about younger generations being exposed to violence and profanity in films, while local news feeds are filled to the brim with death and tragedy. The darkest characters in film today are of the calmest minds and resonate with the majority of public, and most become cultural icons that people praise in everyday life. Creating new context for old footage and old media in general is a huge part of our art world today. It can help construct a whole new meaning to what once was, creating a new experience and a new world for the viewer to step into.